Hello and welcome back to jQuery for designers. In this lesson, we're going to pick up where we left off and we're going to finish styling our drop-down menu. And I've moved everything into a new folder, so all the changes we make in this lesson will be saved in the Site05 folder. And again, we're going to start with the drop-down menu now. So let's jump back into our code. And we have all of our navigation thus far. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And we're going to start styling the drop-down list, which is an unordered list with a class of drop-down. So we're going to point to that drop-down class here. And let's get started. We're going to set the list style to none, because right now we still have bullet points on this drop-down list. So if we set list style to none, then that'll get rid of the bullet points. The next thing I want to do is I want to nudge this down, because remember, our unordered list here, or our drop-down list, is hovering over our other lists, and we want to move it down. And remember, the height of our main menu here is 40 pixels, so we want to move this drop-down list down 40 pixels. So in order to do that, I'm going to set our position here to relative, and then I'm going to set the top property to 40 pixels. And by doing that, that will move it down 40 pixels so that it will no longer, if we save that, it will no longer be hovering over our main menu. So we'll refresh, and there we go. Our bullets are gone, and our menu has moved down. Now there's still some default left padding on our list, so let's set our padding here to 0, or specifically padding left to 0. Save that and refresh, and that moves it over. So we'll go back to our code. And then I want to set the width of this drop down to 150 pixels. So the width of that is going to be a little bit wider than the main menu items, which are 120 pixels wide. This one's going to be 150. So again, we'll save that and refresh, and we won't see a huge difference. But now let's set the background color and the text color and things like that. So we're going to go into the list items within that drop-down list. So we'll skip a couple lines and we'll point to .dropdown space li to point to those list items inside the drop-down list. And first of all, let's set the background color for those list items to #555, so a medium gray color. And we're going to do something similar here to what we did with our main menu items. With our main menu, we wanted to set the width and height of the anchor tags in order to make the entire button clickable, not just the text itself. So in order to set the width and height of the anchor tag, we needed to give the anchor tag a position of absolute. But in order for that to work properly, we had to give its parent items, or those list items, a position of relative. So we're going to do that here. We're going to give our list item a position of relative. And then we'll come down here for drop-down LIA and give those anchor tags a position of absolute. Then we can set the width and height of those list items. So we'll set our width to 150 pixels. And for the height here, we want to use 35 pixels. And then we'll come back up here to our list items, and we're going to make those list items the same size. So we're going to set our width there to 150 pixels. And our height to 35 pixels. Again, the same width and height that we use for our anchor tags. Then for our anchor tags, let's set our text color first of all. We'll set color equal to $DDD to give it a really light gray color. We're going to set text decoration to none to get rid of the underlines. And then we're going to put some padding in here. So if we save it right now and refresh our page, we can see right now that each submenu item, it looks like it's aligned to the very top of that list item. And we can see it better if we go ahead and create a hover effect. So let's skip down a little bit and create a hover effect for those anchor tags. So drop down LIA:hover. And here we're just going to set the background color to a lighter color of #777. So let's save that and refresh. And now when we hover over them, we can see the size and position of those list items. And we can see that the text is up in the top left corner. So I want to add some padding to these anchor tags in order to move that text down, because that text, remember, is inside the anchor tags. So we've set the width and height of these anchor tags. And now if we set some padding in here, that will nudge the text around where we want it. So let's go back to our code and go back to our anchor tags here, and we're going to create a padding property And the top padding is going to be 10 pixels, and these are just values that I've experimented with until I got them where I wanted it to be. So the top padding is going to be 10 pixels, the right and bottom padding are both going to be 0, and then the left padding is going to be 10 pixels as well. Then, in order to keep that padding from increasing the width and height of our list items, we're going to set the box sizing property equal to border-box. That way, our final width and height after the padding is added will be 150 by 35 pixels. So let's save that, refresh our page, and now when we hover over, we can see a little bit more of what we're looking for. So now we've got our items where we want them to be, and all that's left is to use our jQuery in order to make this drop-down list open and close. So before we do that, by default, we don't want this drop-down menu showing up. We don't want that to show up until we hover over the Services button. So for now, we're going to make this drop-down list invisible. And that drop-down list, remember, is contained in an unordered list with a class of drop-down. So we need to point to this drop-down class here. And in that drop-down class, we're just going to set the display property to none. And that will basically just make it invisible. So we'll save that. Refresh our page, and now it's gone. It's still there, but the display is set to none, so we can't see it. It's out of the way, and now when we jump into our jQuery, we should be able to make that work just fine. So we'll get to the jQuery for our drop-down.